It's 8 minutes after 7 p.m. And it's Thursday, and I'm looking for a final retracement of the swing trade I'm in on the euro dollar. The British pound had some chop to it. It looks like the gold market right here on the weekly has kind of climaxed, and I would be buying on limits, and this looks like a no-brainer. Just got filled on my first weekly buy limit on gold. And I would recommend, if you've got enough money, buy all the way down here all next week. And when it gets below here, it's my recommendation, I would buy just more than you could believe in this window, because this is the supply, whatever you want to call it. This is where the buyers are, deep, rich buying liquidity here, because it's a very old price. The deeper and older the price, now this price is not that. So if you have to mark, what you do is you use the market as its own Fibonacci. It's telling you right there, there's a buy bank here, and I'm not trading a one ticket. I'm trading a whole area. So I've got orders there all next week, and I'm going to put really fat scalp tickets on these focused, so you have a dynamic range. You've got tickets that are going to make $10, tickets that are going to make $100, or I'm sorry, tickets that are going to make $100 with 10 pips, and the other ones are going to make $100 with 100 pips. I'm going to drop orders in to the market, in front of the market. I guess they call it front running the market. Now this one I was long on, and this is the only rack that filled. These were drops, and you can see the arrows. So here's proof that I did the trade. Okay, now it meant that I had to come to the platform, put the trade in. I marked this area off in advance. We knew this was a area was going to come into. So this guy wrote me this comment, and his English isn't that great, so I'm having a hard time deciphering what he's aiming at here. But here it goes. I can tell by his name he's not like Sam Hill, or he's not just American. So he says, you talk like a guy that have an infinite account. That's right, because I kind of do. I'm not risking 2% on one ticket because I decided to figure out the algorithm and stay awake for 24 hours for the setup on a 15-minute chart to take that trade. Why? What am I retarded? As soon as God invented the micro account, I said, and I realized what MT4 was, and this is almost 10 years ago. The first time I dropped a pending order, and it was in the script originally, they took it out of MT4. It don't live there no more. There's no scripts on the new MT4s. So I've got quite a pile on this and that. And I thought, this is the ultimate coding. You just dropped a rack of tickets and walked away. I come back, there's $100 in the account. Now there could be a $100 loss, but I know the number coming in. Do I really care if I'm getting optimal trade entry? This is the most ridiculous concept. And when you watch ICT, nowhere during any of his videos does he talk about, well, this would be a place to bracket with stops, a strategy, or the technique to get in. The technique is as critical as any fucking whatever you think the big boys are doing. If you can't see that there is a void forming above and below, that's what makes a triangle. I mean, the inversion of a triangle is space. As soon as the market tips into that window, just watch it on a tick chart. Stare at the market when it's coming up on a critical level. I'm talking about a weekly level. It's going to pop up like a rape date, and it might come sucking back. It may just take off and never come back. When it goes into that window, you're going to the abyss. You don't have a... When gold took out this recent high, that was quite a move, right? Now, if you had positioned yourself to martingale into that fucker right at the very tippy top, you were in your last ticket with a hard stop on the whole rack, You're going to tell me that it isn't the most fucking genius way to make money without even being there? You knew the fucking thing. You knew the high of gold fucking 3 years ago. I thought I was trying not to swear, but I just get so fucking, I'm like, what the fuck? And ICT comes along, well, this is the high of the day. And then he's talking about, so I've been watching ICT and going out the markets going, so I'm looking at Tuesday, I'm like, well, new low on Tuesday, new low on Wednesday, new low on Thursday. The euro has made a new low every fucking day and then engulfed, okay? Not full engulf. Hey, you know what? Comes back to the next floor. I can show you the whole walk down on the 4-hour structure. It's a no-brainer, right? The question is, are you trying to make 10 pips or 50 pips or 100 pips? If you're trying to make 300 pips like these fundamental traders that go, yeah, the market's going to come around to reality. I'm going to ride this fucker. Can't they see what I see? Yeah, with a 500 pip stop, dude. But now we're talking about, is that one fucking ticket? Now, if it is, you're nuts. You're lazy. Well, I'm not. I got the scripts. I figured it out. It's execution. It's not looking at the fucking chart and the back testing. And so I thought about what this guy wrote. And it just started triggering all the shit in me. I thought to myself, the real problem is when you read what he says, you see that everybody's after this idea that if you could just figure out what's going on in these fucking markets, I'd make money. But you have to accept that if you're going to make 500 pips, you may go 300 pips underwater and hold on to a losing position, which is totally against winning trading. If you're waiting 5 days to get paid on some giant entry, I mean, position size, but here's the bonus of, and this has got to be algorithmic what I'm doing, I suppose. When I drag or drop, or I can double click, I have a lot of double clicks. Got a lot of ventilators too. I'll double clicks on the tablet. Dude, I got shit I wrote. I double click. It got 20K laid out, 8.5 pips apart, all the way down to China, all the way to fucking Wuhan and back. Maybe it lasts a day. Maybe it lasts 4 hours. That's the other critical fucking thing is time exposure. I mean, I know I don't want to repeat myself, but the script has an expiration. There's good till canceled. So the scary thing about having an order that's pending without an expiration is that if you forget about that and all of a sudden you wake up one day, you're like, hey, unless your statement comes with a pending on it, that you always know there's exposure there. If markets just spike up there and you go, yeah, I'm going to sell up there and I'm going to shoot and pray. As this guy says, let's shoot and pray. Yeah, dude, I'm using a shotgun. I'm not just shooting a fucking high-end rifle like you guys with 2% of like $1 million account risk at some, I don't know what the fuck. Why aren't you just pressing a button and getting in on like 40K with scalps built? And I could write you that script. If you really like to pull the trigger on 40K, which I don't see the point. Because if you really think that fucking price is the best price, looking at a market that trades in a tenth of a pip, so it's like in a big enough position, it's at $10 a pip. It's $1 a pip bet. It could be $10 a pip bet, or I know this guy's a beginning trader or something, or he's hunting around watching other people's stuff. I watched ICT. Because, yeah, I get what he's saying, but he's made a whole mystique and bullshit. It's like a guy that, I don't know, he's made this whole lexicon of like, well, this is called the breaker and over here. And I'm like, dude, really? Why don't you spend more time telling people, well, what you're going to have to do here is shit your pants on this trade? I mean, really, that is the crux of it. How can you hold your shit together? And ICT, I get the feeling that he trades really big for just a few pips and scalps out. Now, you cannot hold a giant position for, well, I don't know how big your account is, but even with a 500 pip stop, if it's a standard lot with a 500 pip stop, I guess, right, let it go, right? I mean, people probably risk more getting into some bullshit stock market where they're in stock for 3 fucking years. They locked up all that capital in that dumb shit trade. Here you trade on margin. It's obviously the best way to make, especially these COVID motherfuckers. I mean, I'm at the store and I'm like, so at the gas station, it's okay not to wear your mask apparently because, and I'm getting these cups of coffee that are fresh ground at the gas station, fucking Speedway. My God, I just died and went to heaven. I was going to Starbucks and, go to fucking Speedway and I get these cups blasted into my cup. And every time I go for a lid, they're all stuck to the next lid. I'm like, I ain't fucking washing my hands. I'm not wearing N95 gloves. So I'm like, dude, they're all getting sick at the gas station, I figure. So, super spreader coffee event there with the cups and the lids, and nobody's fucking paying attention. And it's just a big hoax as far as you're going to get sick. Dude, if you're that fucking fragile, you're going down from Corona, you're fucking in bad shape. Yeah, no shit. It's a litmus test for being the fuck out of shape. Yeah, you're 90 years old. You died from Corona. I'm sorry. I love you to death. But, dude, it's not, don't tell me what I got to do, what I got to wear, how I got to think. Next thing will be telling me what kind of color underwear I got to wear. Oh, we don't, white socks, buddy. Can't get in. Besides, we're going to irradiate you just before, would you step over here? Come here, no, it's going to be, we're just going to delouse you. It's fine. It's this way, buddy. Anyways, ICT, I'm sure he sounds like a nice guy. Actually, the more I listen, the more lispy he sounds to me. But, I guess I differ with him in the sense that I couldn't imagine taking on the responsibility to mentor somebody. So this is my version of mentorship. It's just complaining on the YouTube. And just saying, holy fuck, because I don't want to say I've seen it all. Like when I saw that Gartley, I said, wow, you got me there, man. I didn't see that coming. And I saw the Ikamusha cloud coming because I thought, yeah, what if because the MT4 EAs do that. They front run, they shift the moving average out into space. So you get these crossovers that happen kind of unnaturally, have nothing to do with fucking anything. In fact, if you have no money management skills at all, you're never going to fucking make any money. So you could be in some dumb shit trade where you just got in and hoped and prayed. And when you were up $10, you got the fuck out and you kept doing that. And would you cut your losses short or would you shit your pants if you were down you have no stop in the market. You're making $100, $10. And then the one time it goes against you, you kind of freeze and think, well, maybe this is just a slight pullback. And you're watching the tick chart, you're watching the 5-minute chart. You don't realize the big fucking picture is that you're coming into the weekly lows, and you're like, it's just coming down a little bit, and then it's going to go through into a vacuum you can't fucking believe, an abyss you can't. Mind blowing. I mean, look at any market, and so it's kind of happened there in gold, right? So you pop the cork. Now it's a range trader's market. I mean, that's another thing. You build these algos, you optimize them, and you get the thing dialed into some fucking move, and you just curve fitted a move that'll never fucking happen again. You got to be kidding me. You can't take and build these algorithms with you. I guess you can because what's going on there, and no nonsense is under trading the market. So this guy says. He says the market's algorithmic. That's what ICT says. And I don't really know what that means. I looked it up. It's so funny. The first thing I put up is it came up with Uber drivers, algorithmic pricing. So when there's a lot of people leaving an event, the price is like fucking $20 a mile. But if you're just sitting there picking your nose, it's like $8 a mile or something, or $1 a mile. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. It's a squeeze, a short squeeze, whatever you want to call it. And there's a lot of volume because as soon as price tips into the window of the void, there's a order imbalance. In other words, it was balanced out during the triangle or the doji. Everything's agrees. So when you get to the end of even the close of the market, it's very quiet typically. And you get these engulfing patterns. In other words, sure, you're going to make a new low on Tuesday or Wednesday, but what are you doing with that fucking low? How much are you buying there? I'm buying in a rack, so I'm always buying an area. I would never think, even though I could tell you that anything above this price is a sell, but it may tip 1 pip above or it may tip into it. If you think you can tell me how far it's going to tip in that window, if ICT could tell me that, I'd be like, dude, why are you even doing a mentorship? If you could tell me how far we'll tip into the vacuum before we retrace back to the floor that we fell through, I'm looking at the markets in a structural, vertical view of the market, not an aerial view, which you could look at aerial views like you could treat it like a football field. And you could say, it pulled back to this back and forth, or it is pressure, building above and below. You could say, and I did that once. So I printed out my charts vertically and I printed them out horizontally. And I was going to give these charts to people that don't trade and say, what does that look like to you? So I was going to I talked about this before, a lot of stuff I'd never do. So I was going to try to create a prop or get people to trade and not even let them know money was involved, because as soon as you say, well, you're going to risk money, people go, what? And you don't know what the fuck's going on here? Oh, no, we're not going to hope and pray here. I'm not going to shoot. I'm not going to just shotgun the market with a bunch of tickets. Okay, well, I can swing trade the market in a 100 pip window and be like, some of these are scalps, and they're logically placed where I see the first window of deep vacuum or deep liquidity or whatever, iceberg orders, whatever you want to call them. And we're going to go through that floor, man. And we're going to go fast, retrace, come back to the next on closing prices. You get a beautiful structure where the closing price, it closes up. That's the only signal you need. It closed up. If you're a seller and it's up a little bit, you're selling on the 4-hour chart, right? Maybe it goes up another. You're selling. But if you are structurally in a situation where you're already in an uptrend, not an uptrend, but you're filling into a larger void, that's going to have a typical, if it's not the lonely wick, which would be the Williams fractal, if it's not going to be this outlier, looking back, looking to the left, structurally, unless you run your charts the other way, and then that is always going to be written in stone forever in time. Now, it will fade into the distance once we overlap that with a new price. So if gold does go to 3,000, how's it going to get there? By dip back in the window, it's got to mess around with this breakout point we got going here, right? We can't just take off into it without some kind of a retraction. So let me get to the, I'm jumping around here, but I'm going to go back to the gold chart. Look at this thing on the weekly. Now, you're going to tell me, so on the monthly, this is why I said it's a trap trade. It could be over, but we've engulfed. We've come below the actual initial entry point now. I'm going to put the price mark on here. I'm not real, now this is a big round number up here, but it's not 2000, it's 1924 or something like that. And now we do go slicing through 2000 here. These are $100 handles. And we actually almost made it to 200. So we know quite a bit above that. Now, if you could withstand this much punishment, almost $200, you'd be up on the very tippy top order. So imagine you sell here. You sell here. Instead of, you just put the same size tickets, you sell here. And here you start to put them in very dense, right? And in a perfect world, like I said in the beginning, in a perfect world, you sold right to the tippy top. You didn't even have a pending up here, but in my world, I put pendings way the fuck up there. You know why? Because I could sit back and watch the drama and just go, you know what? I don't fucking care. Like here, this is the weekly goal. This is monthly goal, believe it or not. Imagine that strategy or technique here. Sell limit, sell limit, sell limit. You see the vacuum? This is the vacuum. To me, this is the most critical pattern is this void. Because when you fill that, now your sell limit here never filled, but look at that thing. Now, if you take from the closing across, when you close above there, I'm selling at the market so hard. When we close above this double top, I've already gotten filled on limits, but if I see close up there, I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Because we're in that trap window. Look at this. This is like $2. Then kablamo. You're never going to see that the rest of your life, that pattern. I mean, in this exact mode here. And if you're selling into it on limits, You're like sell, 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 sell more, sell morest, right? And sell so big up, you got to have money for this though. And if you never took these pendings out, they just filled. 10 years later, it's unbelievable. Now this is this is a no-brainer. Somebody already made money today on gold. I guarantee you, with this concept, with this technique strategy, I guarantee you that trade was a winner today. Just back tested it. I just back tested it over 2 months. Boom. Now, to run this back on 10 years of data is fucking pointless. And you got to be retarded if you're thinking like that. There's something wrong with you. You think that this market's ever going to do the same thing ever again? It's not even possible. You've already got your scalp here. You put in a buy limit at last month's low. Now, it could have kept tanking, but we know there's liquidity there. And then I could go down and I could probably even see this trade could have been done twice already. Go to the 4-hour chart and ask yourself, is that like a trade we could have done more than once? Yeah, I guess this window here. So this is the daily chart. Now, when you go to the daily chart, you can see how this trade is just, you'd still be underwater right now. Like if you bought this whole window, you're like, yeah, actually here you would have made money on this ticket, but these tickets, you would still be underwater. So that's why you'd have to buy so much down here that you can peel that loser off. This is money management that's like scaled in a logarithm that, like a Fibonacci, where way denser down here, right? And this is a daily. So wow, buying the new low on a Thursday. So the fact that it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you can't make claims like that. Well, on Wednesdays, the bankers, what they're doing here is see what they're doing. No, it's the fucking no way. If that was true, are you going to tell me that this is not? I'm sorry, man. I'm just so pissed. I just can't take this. And then this guy doesn't have any ICT. Delete, no comments. Comments disabled. Don't comment. Okay, fuck you. And then he copyright strikes me on his garbage shit with his watermark. The guy's such a fucking putz. He's the slime. He's like Biden. If Biden was doing mentorships in Forex, the fuck is he talking about? And if you don't, I can't talk about here. But I mean, dude, if you can't figure it out now, you shouldn't. Why bother trading? I mean, really, you've got enough money. Just stay home, watch Netflix. So here's the lonely wick here on the daily gold market. Yes, if you sold up there, and look how the next day a little bit higher. Now this is where you run into problems. I take that same concept, I pluck it over here. I go, okay, let's sell new highs. Dude, they just blew out my thing. I know, because the volatility is so high here that if you think you can step in, and you got to take this into consideration, this is probably the biggest 3-day sell-off in gold. This reminds me of when gold first went up there. When silver first went up there, I was trading it. I shorted it a little bit. It went down like $20. It's on a Sunday night. It gap opened a little bit, and then it went down. This is when it went up to $50, almost $50. And I was like, that'll never happen again. I wish I was in so big on that trade. Like now, if you built a lifestyle around, well, I'm waiting for this trade, you're going to go broke, man. Unless you can trade this bullshit. I'm talking if you had to make a living from trading, you go broke. Like here's the exact same setup, or people always make these claims. Well, look at this same kind of setup here. Yeah, I just saw up here. See, I know, but it's not as big as a move, and it's one day. I'm sorry. So I don't know what this guy's saying because he speaks another language, but he's making these comments like that, and I'm like, man, I guess he triggered me, but it wouldn't be the first person to trigger me with their comments, because I'm reading between the lines here. I guess I'm making worse out of it. So how can you say at some point the price can go up or down? You don't know? Oh, I know it can go up or down. I don't know what he's trying to say. Nobody knows. Like, how many times are we going to dip into a window before it fails? Does anybody know, really? Why not just take advantage of the fact that that does happen and come up with a trade plan so you can trade the consolidation, which 80% of the market's consolidation, and then it makes a run. So what happens is people agree on price. There's a lot of consolidation. There's a doji, maybe two dojis. You get three dojis in a row, it means, man, market's just like nothing there. But it typically will go in the same direction as the last price balls. So when you see a doji, logically the next move is going to be, if it went up and it dojis, it's going to keep going up. So the doji is the opportunity. It's the pullback. It's the only quiet time to get in the market before it makes a big move. It's the size of the move that matters, because if you're in too big on that move, sure, you're loving it. If you're in too big on the wrong side of that move, you're not loving it. So I'm softened my entries and exits. I don't have to worry about that. I mean, if the market plunges, I'm hoping it does plunge, and I've already done the math on how much it costs me and how much I can make on that trade. And if I'm watching it happen, I can say I've scalped out enough, what people call free trade. Instead of moving my stop, I typically don't move my stop. I just say I've scalped out, let it go, because they might retest it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold a small position in the big picture with a 100 pip stop, but I'm going to trade around it with scalps. So when the market comes back, I'm like, so I'm in this euro dollar trade. Now, based on how much available margin I have, percentage-wise, I can trail it with buy limits, even if I'm long. I'm like, yeah, they'll probably pull it back. And I don't want to get out because I'm not in big enough for it to bother me. And maybe I'm in too small. I like to trade from a long time until tomorrow. It's Friday, last day. And, there's only less than 24 hours left in this market. So it's a very strange market, because when you come into Friday, you're like, fuck, dude, it's over. So these giant moves, you could have sold into the vacuum. I talked about the vacuum on the euro. You could have sold into it, but there were retracements in that. There was a pullback inside of there. And you could have traded that too. You don't have to. So look at the euro dollar. And we fell into the window, right? Fell into this hole. And it was right here. We all knew it was there. I'm sure, your tickets knew it was there. And this was where you really had to get in heavy, was back here. That's the whole strategy. I mean, it's so stupid. And there's nothing special about this price, but what is really special is there's a 50 pip grid on the big black lines here. This right here, this window where it went down into here. It never made it to here, though. Let me stretch this out. So, I don't know, because what pisses me off when I listen to ICT talk, I'm like, does he even listen to his shit? How it's so harebrained. It's like, look at this move. Are you kidding me? This is the euro dollar. Hardly moves that viciously. If this isn't a buy, what the fuck is? So yeah, I can just put them in there and pray. Yeah, I'm going to put limits in. So I bought into this hole here, scalped out on the 4 hour. You can't see it here. Scalped out. We dump one more time. And then here, I just bought so much. You have no idea. This morning, just before the Dow Jones opened. And here comes, don't forget, at this point right here, we're already here. And here comes the news on the jobs report. And then right here, this is a really 1 day older low than that, but it's deep, right? That's a very deep algorithmic low there. That's algorithmic there. What that there, son? Did I ever tell you about algorithmic trading? But look at that. So I'm long now, and I'm going to cash out when we get to the floor on my scalps, right? I already scalped this 25 pip window here. This is 25 pips from there to there. Now, you could have had the choice, and I talked about that hole. Everybody knew it was here. I'm sure that the only guy in this ICT saying, I'm the only guy that's showing you this stuff. Come on. This was the most amazing trade. If you missed this one, we dip below this 50 pip window, and you buy here for how many pips? Only 100? I mean, come on, but that, like I said, that trade does come along more often. the range trade, since the market's ranging 80% of the time, there's way more trades like that. Now, I'm sure the the no-nonsense get on the train here and here if they're lucky on these pullbacks, right? They're going to buy these pullbacks. But then I think the problem with trend traders, they think, oh, it's going to the moon after that. Oh, it's just going to keep going. It's just great. You know, you're always going to be able to go to the store without a tampon on your face. It's always going to be like this. Yeah, you don't need a mini pad on your face. You're fine. That's what I'm going to start showing up with fucking inappropriate fucking face covering. Dude, is that really? You can't come in here like that. When you look at the market, this is how I look at the market when I'm in a big position. I go, wow, this is okay. So it's so clear now, and this is just about pips. So I'm trading for pips, man. As far as knowing where it's going to go, I don't know. So if I put a sell limit here, and I don't get filled in this day, do I cancel it? Or do I move it down? Like if I put a sell limit here, oh, overfilled me, stop me out, right? So you got to know that when we come up here, it's going to be insanity, man. People are going to lose their minds like COVID up there. And that is the top. That's why no nonsense is. The guy's saying something. People say don't criticize other traders. Why not? You really think? Where's the guy making a video? Maybe he is. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I haven't copyright infringed him yet. I don't watermark my shit. It's like, God damn, dude, you just play guitar. You don't like. I just play guitar. I think I'm good, but I know I can't do stuff some other people do, but I'm sure other people aren't going to play. What I play is just disturbing melodies, which most people are going to play normal shit. And they're not going to want to play what I'm playing, but I don't care. So I trade the same way. I don't give a fuck. You can wear your mask all day. You can fucking mask on your ears. You can fucking wear earmuffs, goddamn goggles, a fucking spear like some, whatever the fuck you want. But I'm not playing that game, dude. Fuck you. Dude, the first time I just really hated the government was the Frank Dodd-Frank. That fucking shit. But then I figured it out. I'm just so naive and I'm so fucking honest. I think everybody else is honest. So I'm thinking, oh, fuck, that's just like, what's that about? Oh, they're just trying to protect people. No, the floor traders were shitting their pants. So it's like, don't let a crisis go to waste. As soon as they blew up the fucking financials, these goobers step in with their fucking, oh, what you got to do here, see is. And then, yeah, because, what the fuck? Who needs goddamn commodity trading, which was costing everybody, I don't know, it cost me $300 a month easily. The exchange fees and the data, the fucking satellite dish on your roof, Jesus Christ. You could trade a fucking standard lot in soybeans? Dude, I could trade a whole Forex account for what it costs to put on one soybean contract, and there you'd shit your pants. I mean, if there was a fucking drought, or if the market went against you, I mean, this movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy, dude, that guy's trading orange juice, pork bellies, and that shit goes fucking limit up and down, and you could just go bankrupt. Forex? Pfft, this isn't even risk. And people with the fucking, oh, this could be risky. Dude, you gotta just imagine going out to your local riot these days. You might get shot. So yeah, trading's the place to be, man. Just sit here, fucking make money in your pajamas here. Fuck these assholes. I just can't believe people fall for it. And I still sit. Now it's become like this. People got designer masks on. I'm like, you know what? Come here. Come here. I spit on you. So I saw the most disturbing YouTube video. And so I showed it to this girl from New Zealand, and she said, oh, that's fake. I go, no, it's real. There's a girl in California, probably 12 years old. At some sporting event, they dragged her out, tased her in handcuffs. 2 cops with masks on, and they were touching her. I'm like, dude, you really? That's not 6 feet apart. I don't know. I'm so over it. But I'm looking at this Eurodollar chart. And this is why ICT is full of shit. You look at this. Where's the breaker blocks on here? Where's the, well, and then he says, well, this is the intraday ranges and the outraday weekly ranges. Oh my God, please. If you can't absorb this like, even if you could tell me, well, optimal trade entry is right there. I nailed it. You nailed it there. Was this some Fibonacci extension off of these tops? Come on. And then people do this shit with their charts. They got the chart like, you know what they're thinking. When you stretch a scale out like this and you can start to see the spread, you're like, okay, what's going on here? Like, this is the market. The market isn't like this. So people do this Fibonacci extension shit. I'm like, dude, you're talking about extending up. Your fib's going to land in probably a window of like 50 pips up here. Well, it's kind of close. Dude, that's 50 pips. If you're in a big position and it moves like that, you're like, you kind of know it. You just kind of see it on your account, especially if you're any kind of size. And of course, you're trading really big on one ticket because you're so correct. I know all the order flow and I know all the fucking pivots and what the fuck? You could actually trade, and I wouldn't do this, but I mean, you could do it. Well, Bill Williams recommends it, and I'm just not that guy. But you have a bias for direction, and if it doesn't go your way, you stop and reverse and go the other way. In other words, you change your mind and go the other way. Now I could do that, where if I had trailing sell stops, and I could just have more I did it once. Okay, trailed with sell stops. It's clunky way to trade. It's not very profitable, I guess. I don't know. It could be. In other words, if the market's going up and you keep dropping 1 hour sell stops, they last for 1 hour. So imagine the market's going up and you're trailing with a sell stop, and then when it finally starts to tank, on pure confirmation you're getting in. Okay, now that's very retail sophomoric. This is very basic trading style. And if you get in like that into markets, okay, you know what? I mean, but if you've ever gotten not burned, but if you've ever seen that, well, why don't I just buy on a limit and get a better price? Why don't I just put a buy limit beneath me instead of a buy stop above and chase it? Why don't I? Well, what, you're just going to put it in there and pray? Kind of. Actually, if I've got a rack of 10Ks, and I've done this on a tablet where I keep dropping, I've done it on demos, I've done it on real money, I've done it for hours. I've traded more than I think anybody that's ever traded on an MT4. I've written all these fucking scripts, I've launched them, I've choked, I've blown up, I've taken and made thousands of dollars on a demo, thousands of dollars in real money. But does it really matter if you can't trade tomorrow? If you don't have a plan for tomorrow, what are you going to do now? Oh, yeah, my algorithm's not working. You know, I built this thing a back test, and they say you got to stick with it because you just got to ride out the rough spots. Fuck that shit. I'm driving this car design, you know, it kind of pulls to the left. Like, they say that you kind of got to work with it until you kind of dial it in. I don't think so. I mean, I hate to sound like I don't have any patience for I don't know. In the end, it comes down to, are you shitting your pants? You're in too big on the trade. Because if you're not in too big, you're like, yeah, this is just like driving a car. You never drive down a two-way street that's 70 miles an hour each side. You're only like 4 feet from just pulling over like Sam Kinison and hitting somebody, right? So, I guess, right? But the funny thing about the market is that on this chart here, the daily, if you look at that part in the middle there, that's 2 months of bullshit. Well, on the 4-hour chart, it's a carnival of auctions, and if you know how to, even on the daily it is too. If you're really going to get in everything below that closing line, so you get a double bottom and closing prices, that white line's 1 period moving average, and then the wicks, right? If you enter on the wick, you could just trade the wick. If you got a trade plan just for wicks, so the guy says here, yeah, if you got a trade plan that works, yeah, you use it, right, whatever. I just think that, what's wrong with talking about it? Why is this a big taboo? Well, I can't criticize this guy's dumb shit trading thing. And, a lot of these people are selling an indicator, or they're just saying the most ridiculous shit. Like, it's just like, oh, global warming. Are you fucking nuts? You don't know what's going to happen next. Besides, you're so fucking wealthy, you can sit back and contemplate the temperature of the planet. You can't even keep your fucking city from having a riot? And you're going to fucking entertain that bullshit? Dude, what the fuck? It's like the guy picking out the template color. Not that it's not important to your psychology of trading, but the background color on MetaTrader is fucking up my trading. No. I'm sorry. Well, I guess it could, right? Because if you don't feel good about what you're doing, right? Everybody wants a pretty template. Somebody said I had the ugliest fucking template. I know, but this is the raw closing prices on top of my big bars, and to me, this is the ultimate because I can see the perspective of the range per day and what's really going on a closing basis, and I can even draw these trend lines that amazingly. Maybe it's happenstance, but look at this beautiful crossover. You could make the argument all day. I don't have to back test that. If I see that thing close here, now this is the problem with that. Is it already blew through it on the wick, and then it finally closes there, and then you sell, and it goes up higher? What the fuck good is this closing price shit? Yeah, because you got to literally say, well, I chose that trade because of closing prices. Okay. Then people say, well, triangle breakouts don't work because, I got this triangle here, I drew it. Like, in other words, I can make that trade fail just by putting in too tight of a stop. Now, if you put in a wide stop, so that's another bullshit thing about backtesting. Oh, I backtested with a wider stop and it made more money. No shit, Sherlock. You're trying to get a pattern, and this guy's saying structure matters. Yeah, but what are you doing about it? I'm not going to pick a precise, like I could say, well, I see to you, look, I told you the target was down here. Anybody could say that. And if that's true, why aren't you getting in there then? If that's the exit, it must be a good entrance. Because if you're getting out here, it must mean the move's over. So you're a buyer. Why aren't you always in the market? Buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. Right? That would be most people are like, and if you've just got done with this trade and if you've had to endure, this is 4 days down, and your target and it goes beyond your target, and you got out early? I mean, how do you feel about that? Now, you could say, and I would do it like this is how I would trade it, is I'm short a bunch of tickets. And when we get down to here, I'm barely in, and now I'm starting to come in with my buy limits. And all I got to do here is, this is way more precise than the double click. So here, look at this sell bank. I don't know if that ever got filled, but see how that was? I'd still be kind of short. Okay, that is the same time I dropped the other scripts. So when we got in here, and these are all sell limits, if we did not scalp something to this structure in closing structures, top becomes a bottom. You got a double bottom here. RSI is probably a little more oversold here because there's a bigger sell-off. Bigger sell-offs. You got to get in. And here's the first breakout. Comes back in closing. But if you have, this is the 4-hour chart, so you kind of got to be a little more attentive here. Nice double bottom. Sure, it wicks lower before it takes off. That's why I say, if you're going to sell here at the market, put some sell limits up here, and just in case you're wrong. Like this, there's no precision in these markets. I'm so sorry. You can say like, well, I put a sell limit up here, and I'm doing that thing he's talked about. I'm selling these new highs. Yeah, great. If you don't cash out here, it doesn't mean that it's going to go and do a fucking full engulf. It doesn't have to come back down here. Go, this algorithm. When it pokes up here, that's why I know what ICT's doing. I know what he's talking about. He's just created a whole fucking language around it to make it mysterious. It's just completely inappropriately retarded. It is like so wrong. It's so cringy. Come on, man. I mean, do something better, my God. And he's got this teeny tiny chart. You can't even see the fucking bars. Same bullshit candlesticks, all fuzzy, and he's got his watermark on there. And I don't know, maybe he holds people's hands and gives them reach arounds. I don't know what he does for people. I guess I did a mentorship with Andrew Cardwell. I mean, I took his course. I talked to the guy. I know, and what I discovered there is that trading for him, and he makes a lot of money, is that he just accepts it. He's like, okay, I can already see Cardwell be like, we're getting in here. It's still going up, and that's a pullback. RSI, get in. I mean, that's why RSI is so powerful, simple, and clean. There's nothing dirty about it. It's your interpretation, your use of the tool. Don't blame the tool because you don't know how to use it. Like, to me, this is a vacuum. This is a giant hole itching to be filled. And yeah, we finally get up here, and it's dollar Swiss. Get up here, and then woof. And you could also say, well, this is a shoulder, head, and shoulder. I'm selling that shoulder, and or maybe you're marking your shoulders on the wicks, and you say, well, this is the shoulder, head, shoulder. I'm selling here. Can't you see the pattern? What, are you retarded? And you sell here like more than you can believe, and you start cashing out. I would start scaling out on these levels. And what's moving the price? The void. In my opinion, this is what's driving prices. This doesn't have to be filled, but it gets filled very quickly. It's the speed of price into that hole, because either I guess the trend traders are just people who are aboard this, and everybody's buying, and it gets very, very quiet here. And it's just about there. And don't forget, once you get above here, this is probably a void that goes to the left. I'm thinking about, it could be, that's the thing. If you wanted to really know what's going on, you'd have to zoom out. But I don't really care, because I'm not looking at that void like that as much as I'm saying to myself, for the next 8 hours, would I sell up here? Yes. I would sell up here for 12 hours, sell up here. And what I'm doing is, since I put all these tickets in here, I just drop them in there. Yeah, I'm praying they hit me. I'm praying they don't blow on my stop. I'm always praying. But look at the New Zealand dollar. I just got filled on my buy limit. So I marked this off. I don't know if I did this in the last video, but I've already scalped out of that trade. In fact, I probably went long, and my system would go long below that weekly. I'd be underwater, but I'd be scalped out of, see, here's the supply zone, or what you want to call it. If you look right here to this low, I'll tell you what, if you went down to the 15-minute chart, there might be a double bottom here, but you are currently up on that trade because you bought that fresh low. Now, this limit didn't get filled. That's why I'm laying in a rack. I don't know where I'm going to get filled. In fact, here I'd be long for, this is a 100 pip window, so I'd be buy. That's the weekly chart, don't forget. So, ICT does this weekly, the daily thing. I do it like this because you can see, I guess I'm back testing when I do this. I'm saying, go to the 4-hour chart from the weekly and see if you would have got filled on that trade. Like, see if this is even a viable system is to buy that weekly low. So you kind of got to press the data here to get this to, let me get rid of this thing so I can get a clear shot here. So this is the top. This is what it looks like on the 4-hour, but that's just nothing but clipping the high of the week. So each thing here, so this is Sunday night here, every Sunday. And you just tip into this window just a little bit. And the thing is, the frequency of this trade is not very often. But yeah, you would probably want to trade pretty heavy up there. But what I'm saying is that I'm selling above here all the way up and up and up and up. And I got sell limits to maybe here. And once we get above here, I start selling at the market probably every time it's up. So there's 3 more sells at the market for me if I'm here to see it. This is the 4 hours, so maybe I miss it. And if I go to the dailies, so if I go from the daily to the weekly, we should be able to see this trade in here. I'm going to go long on this lonely Williams fractal down here. So I'm underwater on this trade right now. But I know for certain that I bought more on this low. So this is the low here, and if the spread was tight enough, I would have bought right here in the, I used to call this on the videos, I call this is the in closing prices, I call this the top inside the bottom. See this little, or this is the auction floor here, the original, the narrative of this thing. How does this thing unfold, right? So on the dailies, and you can trade this on the dailies like this. You don't have to go to the weeklies. I just shown how many times could you have made money on the up and down action where it looks like just a wick touch on the weekly, and here, it's a whole bunch of shit. But on closing prices, you get this structure on close. You go below it, then the sellers are supposed to come in there, and that bottom is supposed to become a top, right? That's the rules. But it fails, right? And it starts to engulf, and then above here. Now, you could have sold above that in a broad way. You would have sold this. You sell 1K, 3K, 4K. And maybe you got 5K, 6K. You're very short. You scalp to here, right? Like most people, you can see the bounce there. And maybe you do hold this ticket, and it finally becomes a winner, right? It finally becomes, in fact, it was a winner here, but then like a total rinse and repeat, you're going to come in with buy limits here now. Buy limit, no fill on there in the buy limit. This is why I'm buying this window. In fact, I'm probably going to buy from here down. Now you might say, well, that's kind of like, why can't you be more precise? Why bother? And the thing is that I can just relax, and some of these are going to get stopped out. Some of them are going to get, I know I'm going to put more down here, and some of these have scalps to here, and you'd say, well, why don't you ride it all the way here? Well, I only have to really ride it back to, logically, the exit's going to be here. That's where the void started. So if I buy here, 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 and this ticket I would dump here, or maybe it engulfs and I get a little bit better price, but I'm probably going to get out here. And this is a daily chart. So if I want to get more fills, and there's no such thing as over trading or under trading if you're trading really small size, because it's not a problem. If you're trading really small under trading, you weren't trading anyways before. You were never trading. You were hardly ever trading. So if you trade really small and you rarely trade, it's like you're not even trading. Now, if you trade really big very often with wide stops, you've obviously got a lot of money. Like this guy said, infinite amount of money. Yeah, like, so if this is the 4-hour chart, I'm getting in here because I know I only got to hold this trade for maybe another 12 hours. Cash out here and go into the weekend. We're done. Come back. The sells on the daily, I got sell limits up here. They may never fill. But I'm not going to put one ticket here with a stop here or one ticket here. And this is another thing. If you're going to do real dollar risk, $100 per ticket, so you get like a 100 pip stop on a small K, a 10K, 1K, or you've got a standard lot or two standard lots or three, and you have a very tight stop. And mathematically, dollar-wise, they come out the same dollar risk. Well, you're probably going to get blown out of your tight stop on your big ticket. If you try to put a sell limit on here thinking, oh, I figured this out, I'll just put a sell limit here, and then I put a stop in here, and oh, damn it, that would have been a great trade, a trailing sell stop. It's the inversion of the other guy's trade. This is another big problem in trading, is that your trade, you're trying to be in the market for 12 minutes. I'm trying to be in the market for 12 hours. That fluctuation of price is gone. I mean, you've already made your money, and I'm just sitting there in kind of just a big grid of pendings out there waiting to get filled, and it's kind of a contest. See if they come fill me or not. So to me, it's exciting to have pendings that are going to fill because, yeah, and I will get into the market, but like 10 to 20% of my position is going to be at the market. And I'm typically going to get in a wide stop at the market because I know it's the shittiest price in the world. And I've got pendings below me, and I'm thinking, you know what? I don't have enough pendings down. I want to get into a 200K. Let's buy a 1K at the market, literally, and then just put in that's just so that my subconscious realizes that I'm in the market. And once you buy 1K at the market, psychologically, you're in the market. I mean, I don't know about you, but I would watch that trade and go, I'm curious to see. I'm just very curious. So I'd be like, well, how's it doing? What the fuck? Should I add to it? I'll add to a loser all day long at 1K, right? So if it keeps dropping all day long, I'm like, this is fucking, it's one of those trades. I mean, it's a swing trade. Now, if I'm sitting there and the news is about to come out, or I perceive consolidation, I go, yeah, like right here on this New Zealand, I'm buying New Zealand dollar like I'm buying the euro, I look at that daily here. I'd buy it right now at the market with a wide stop, and I put pendings in 5, 10, 20 pips deep and think, shit, probably going to fill me. In fact, I could be so wrong about that one case. So that just freed up a lot of worry for me because I don't want to miss out. I don't want to miss out on trade. There's a fear of missing out on trades because it's a real thing. You're afraid to pull the trigger here. You're like, yeah, this is going down. I don't know. Joe said it's in a downtrend. His elbow's turned over. I just don't feel like buying it. This thing rips like this, and you're like, holy shit. If I would have jumped on the train here, I could have caught some of that move. But I don't think like that. Like, if I think I missed it, I got the sell limits up here. I'm like, fuck that. Let's just sell into this one. I ain't chasing that shit. What, it look like I'm fucking retarded? So I'm going to put sell limit here and go, I ain't chasing that. Let's scalp to here. I'm like, yeah, they just cleared out this inventory. I'm getting out. Like, I'm getting out. This is also, I mean, I've said these things before. I don't have a special book about it. But this really nice, smooth, it's like 4 wicks stacked in a row here where you know there's like so much management robots. And there's a big inventory void here that's like a, I don't know what you call this, like a wedge into the here. But man, when they fill that, that's what drove that. That's just a complete easy scalp. That actually is a trade that you could have put that trade on when the market was here. The saddest thing is that when the market closed here, you'd be like, God, what's the next trade? And this is the whole point. What are you going to do tomorrow? Come on, tell me, ICT. He goes, well, I'll sell here because this is previous. On one ticket, 2% of your account? Come on. Come on, man. You got to be kidding. And this is the daily chart, so. Or you could be, actually, now here's where you could also make. The weird thing about the market is you could say the complete opposite thing. I'm going to sell here. Look at how much money I made. What are you talking about? I think I said that in the last video. I don't know what these guys... Every time I do a video and people say comments, I'm like, did you even fucking hear what I said? But I don't repeat myself because of that, because I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe I just... I don't make sense because I'm jumping around topically. But I hope maybe 10%. I'm saying if you can withstand the punishment, the psychological punishment of buying this whole, yeah, maybe you're not that guy. You want a precise entry, okay? It's quixotic to think, you're just like, oh yeah, these are fantasy trades. You can say stuff like, well, this is the breakout. I'm going to buy when it pulls back. It broke through this breakout, buy when it pulls back there, and you would be right. But with a tight stop, you'd be so wrong. He's so wrong. I'm risking 2% of the account. The robot's assessing on a $10,000 account. It's trading. Well, you better not trade the British pound, dude, because you can't fucking, British pound. You're gonna need 100 pips. You're gonna need 300 pips stop to say hello to the British pound in a swing trade. Look at the British pound. Well, look at the euro. Look at even this trade here. Look at this daily pullback. And just think about the guys out there that are like, yeah, I'm double top. I sold up here. What are you nuts? I made a new higher high, and then I got closing prices here. I sold here, and I had selling. Yeah, I think the ultimate trade is if you think this thing's going to tank, you sell here, you sell here, you sell at the market, sell here, but you were already selling on limits here, right? So if you're going to sell this whole void, and when it gets to the tippy top, I'm just saying, this is my recommendation, when it gets to here, you got a ticket up there that's so fucking big. And maybe it just scalps to here, the last known, right? And it just gets out. But that's what's going to do it, because if you have diversification, you got, and it's just so easy because you can lay in all these tickets and just go, oh my God, I don't have to worry. And this is the other thing I started off talking about is that if this is, say this is a hourly chart, instead of switching time frames, if I put so each one of these is a day now, so all day long, or no, here, 12 hours. I got a 12-hour script in here, and I drop it, I put it right here, on Sunday night, and I say, or this, no, Asian session right here, and it lasts for 12 hours. It never got filled. It expired here. Now, if it lasts all day, yes, I got picked up on that. So the tickets that expire, and this is really casual swing trading. You don't have to, you could actually put this weeklies in, but the problem with the weeklies is that this is a daily chart, and you put weeklies up here, you're gonna pray, and you're gonna pray more, and you're shooting larger. So you got sell limits in a 200 pip window here, and you can lay the whole grid out on Sunday night, drop it. So imagine this is Sunday night here, right? This dotted line, and you drop that, and you actually have sell limits that last, and half of that rack doesn't get filled. How is that not a good trade? Am I missing something? If you take the time to say, well, when it gets up here, and this could be a Fibonacci for all, who cares? But if you're going to use Fibonacci, use 10 of them. Because I guarantee you, these are all good places to sell. And the way I'm selling, it would be 500K up here. I'd take 200K off the table when it came off of that, and I could actually, and these never got filled. Don't forget, these are giant blankets of orders. It's just the only way to trade for me. You don't have to. It's the only way to do it because I can trade the British pound now, but I got to trade like, wow, I got to put these orders in like 25 pips apart and wait for the wheels to come off. Same thing with the dollar CAD. Every instrument has its own volatility. Look at the dollar CAD. This is a 100 pip grid on the black numbers there. So you can sell this stuff, and I'm sure ICT, he doesn't trade the Canadian dollar, but see the auction here? When it comes into this 10 pip window here, this is a 20 pip window. How is that not a good buy? Am I missing something? Now that's the 1 hour chart. So this is Asia's low. They chop into it in Europe open, US, whatever. Here, actually, you could have traded bookends on this. You got sell limits up here in a 30 pip window, and you're going to say, well, that's 30 pip window. It's too risky for me. Okay. Then what you do is you put in, your tickets are going to be 20 pips apart. The bigger the window, the wider the space your tickets. You can't just come in there. So this is like a 30 pip window. And you know that when it goes above there, it's like all-time highs and stuff too. All you got to do is go to the daily. Look where that is in the landscape of this. Are you seriously? Another thing people do, they got charts like this. Well, it's an uptrend. I'm like, yeah, it's an uptrend, but like on the 4 hour, can you see your trade on the 4 hour? Oh, gee, I don't know. That's kind of rugged. Where are we at? Let's see. Yeah, on the 4 hour, why don't you just do this trade? Why even go to the day? I don't get that. Like, I look at the daily, like 3 days back, but if this is a top becoming a bottom, this is the idea of a pivot, and it's a sloppy pivot of at least like 30 pips here. Aren't you waiting for it to just come back here to your limit? And then, if you think it's going to take out this high of the week, this is a 4 hour chart, doesn't happen till here. Now, yeah, you're going to hold this for 2 weeks and tell me, I made so much money trading that no nonsense. I got you. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, you got some entries here, but if you really look at this chart, it's a gold mine on the 4 hour. You're like, oh my God, look at all these new highs getting. Look at this fake breakout here. It's very quiet, and then man, look at the devastation after this. So it breaks out, looks like it's going up, and don't forget this hole when it fills this thing, it's going to be a bloodbath. But look at the scalpers. Buy new lows, dump. Buy new lows, dump into the floor. Buy new lows, kind of dump. And here, the final capitulation to the round number. I know. I guarantee you, if I was trading this thing, I'd buy, and buy. And every 4 hours it drop, I would buy at the market. I probably wouldn't buy this rally here. That's the seller's entry. That's the trend trader's entry, is that shallow rally. This is like a measured move, so to speak. But once we get below here, wow. And if you can handle it till here, that's going to be your scalp. Let the rest go maybe. But I'm always going to be trolling with these buy limits, right? Here's where you're going to get crushed. You go, I like that idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put buy limits here. Buy limits here. and buy limits here, and you're like, I can't believe they're filling this shit. Now you gotta have the kind of endurance to wait until we come back to this and kind of fill this little mini vac here, come back to here, and then cash out. If you bought more here and held that whole rack and then dump, so that's what I like to do, but I can't always do that. So what I do is I put in a scalp here, built into this whole thing, and then don't forget I got pendings down here that never fill. I'm always going to make it so that half of those tickets probably won't fill. But if they do, oh my God, like here, I would have scalped this already. I had buy limits sitting in here, and I'm out because it looks like we could start doing this maybe. But I don't know. And nobody knows because look at this. I could tell you, oh, this is going to tank, but look at all this dicking around before it tanks. This is 12 hours of bullshit, and then it finally tanks? And when it does, it just comes back to here, and then it really tanks. Then it comes back to support, and then and you see this. If this is the algorithm you're talking about, yeah, this happens over and over again. People build trend channels on that and make speculations on stuff. I just find that to be futile. I'm going to be buying a limits down here, and I'm going to buy so much here, and I'm going to scalp to here for the scalp. And if I ride it out, maybe. But if I'm just trying to make 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 pips, it's a totally different world than a guy that's going to go, I got in down here, and I got out here. Wow, that is 250 pips. That is a good trade. And they would say, well, I'm selling here. It's wick to wick. It's a total engulf, total auction, if you consider the auction starting maybe here or even here, because this is up from there. And it totally engulfs. It comes walking down, big lunge up. Once it hits this, the sellers are there. Comes all the way ripping back. And I bet the people that got on here were like, I cannot believe how hard that pullback is. So, but it's more oversold at a higher price, just slightly. And this is a big move. I'm sure on the daily, that's a nice clean move on the daily. And so it's a different world. On the wick world here is like, oh yeah, buy limits here. But I'm the kind of guy, I'm going to put buy limits here. I'll gobble up all this shit, scalp to here, right? That was a known floor. And then maybe ride that up. And then I'm actually going to put sell limits above here. So I'm a contrarian. I mean, I'm actually going against what's going on. If I was going to sell this, I might start here with my sell limit, but there's no way I'm going to put one ticket in. I'm not saying I am saying you need to trade at least 3 tickets. You need one to scalp, one to make your classic target, and one to make like this target here, where it really takes off and makes a run. So, I don't know if that helps, but yeah, I get a kick out of it, people commenting. So here we go. Okay, he does not predict where price goes all the time. Well, who could, this is why if I take the approach that it could go up or down, I could just bracket the market with limits and say, come on into these windows, and I want to trade the retracement out of that window back to fair value or back to where we're currently at. That would be my trade, see? So, or am I going to say, you know what, I think we're going to go into that window. Let's get in here before the breakout, or even do goober trades, buy stop entry, But that's where the technique and the tactics of trading is more in the money management. It's more important than whether or not you can, if this is a good triangle to get in on, because people can see patterns. It's very easy for guys to see patterns. Maybe women too. I don't know. But I mean, I know I can detect a female figure at a distance. Amazing. I'm always amazed myself. I'm like, yeah, that's a girl. Unless it's lady boy. But yeah, usually you can nail it. And when you first see a flag and a pennant, you're like, oh yeah, trading's easy. Then I'm thinking, well, God, where do I put my stop? And this is the thing that used to really upset me. It still does. Oh, I don't want to get stopped out of this trade. I like this trade. So I thought, well, you can have some of my stops. So they stopped me at 20% of my position. And I got So this is the kind of weird thing. I do have some tight stops in there. Maybe I'd say 20 pips is my tightest stop, maybe 15. And sometimes I put on that trade knowing, yeah, that's kind of stupid, but what the fuck? I mean, the market's quiet. Get in here. I don't like those. Sometimes I can survive a 20 pip thing, but I always got limits down there below. So I'm thinking, I'm putting this on as a kibitz. So I'm just going to pull the trigger on this or maybe, so what I decided to do was just put a 50 pip stop and buy one instead of buying two with a tight stop because you don't know where the price is going. I mean, I've watched the markets for years, and the problem is as soon as you get a bias on where you want it to go, you just ignore all the other movements against you. So if I think it's going up, it's a mental game. I think it's going up, buy one at the market. But I'm the more the time goes on, trading the limits, I'm just like, come on. Just put a buy limit at 5 pips deep. At least give yourself a 5 pip. People talk about, hey, with a tight spread, here's the secret to a tighter spread. Put a buy limit at 5 pips deep in Asia. See if they fill you. Now, don't try it when the news comes out because they're going to just blow through that. If you're going to trade the news, you got to put limits down like 100 pips, 50 pips. I'd lay grids out real deep and walk away. Now, psychologically, it may be disturbing to you, but financially, it's rewarding because if it rips down and rips back up, I used to have a Nano account that I traded like that, and they let me put a lot of tickets in there. It's called, they kind of kicked me out because of Frank Dodd, but 1001 leverage. It's called SIG, Light Forex, but it's SIG is the platform. And oh my Lord, I put these tickets in there, and it was a floating spread, so you'd have to only trade this when the news came out. And it would just rip down and rip up, and I was like, couldn't believe it. I'm like, man, I mean, that's very low risk trading because I could put like $300 orders instead of 1Ks. Big giant banks, they didn't seem like they had a limit. Back in the heyday before Frank Dodd-Frank shit. And, Corona of financials. And I'm like, oh my God, so, and very exciting. And things were different then. I had Windows XP. I mean, I think last time I tried to load MT4 on Windows XP, it's like, ain't gonna happen. It's like, I don't think it runs. Too bad, because I got some really high-end software that runs in XP. But, hey, just stuck with this Windows 10 bullshit. Bill Gates, the guy that's a scientist, virologist or something. So, yeah, so he says, this guy's writing this thing. He doesn't know that price goes all the time, but he manages his trades reacting to his plan where the price can go or not. Yeah, me too. Like, if it goes down there, I want to be a buyer. Now, to get the size right, get the stop right, the density of tickets in that area, what is the best? And, on the British pound, it's so wicky that it's a limit traders market, as far as I'm concerned, or at the market, like after a move, but it's certainly not a stop entry guys market, unless you're going to go into the news with, I guess, to me, it just seems like you're getting ripped off to get a stop, but because you're overpaying, you might as well just put a limit in and get a better price and come up with a way to make something 8 or 20 pips from that limit entry. And it's not over trading as much as oversizing is a problem. So he reacts to his trade plan where he can get or not. And if a trader has a plan for both directions, it's more easy to react. Yeah. So if you have market orders ready and your broker lets you hedge, I hope you're not trying to trade in the United States. I'm just saying anybody that's my scripts. I mean, people say, I try to do a thing about it. And people said, over there at this Awanda, which is like the shittiest broker on the planet. They'll let you trade as long as you have different sizing. And then they did another mask lockdown. You go, you can't guys trade. You got to have a separate account for every ticket. Fuck you. I mean, it's just so fucking shit. It's garbage. It's so funny because there's these brokers I used to trade with. They still exist. Like, I used to have 20 brokers. I was like, dude, look at this shit. People, I never forget Exness. They're still there in Russia. Exness, 1001 leverage. I traded gold with a credit card in like 10 years ago. I'd be like, yeah, maybe over 10 years ago now. And I said, I can't believe I just put $50 in this account. I'm trading gold. I mean, how they. Now, granted, I could not make a withdrawal unless I gave my driver's license and documentation, right? Money laundering shit. It was crazy. And he had to use Liberty Reserve. Liberty Reserve was the only transfer agent before Bitcoin. Now you got the Bitcoins, and people can trade Bitcoins, and what a world, you know. So, you know, Corona, I can see that the path of least resistance was to lock everything down because people were already locked down already, weren't they? They were already on the internet. They were already fucking locked down to Facebook and Twitter. I don't know. It was an easy transition there, and to see people kind of wearing the mask without any protest now, you got to check out that girl being handcuffed and taken out, screaming because she didn't have a mask on. I mean, it's mind blowing. I just saw. I don't know when it happened, but that's like blowing up a really big trading account, feeling wise. So he says, anyone who pay attention, what he preached will be better trader for sure, and forget all crap you and other guys teach on the internet. Yeah, if you have your own, yeah, what it's going to come down to is, do you trust yourself with money? You know, do you trust yourself with risk? Is it okay to lose? Is it okay to win? So that's why I turned to Mark Douglas, because that was the final cure for me. You know, I was like, man, I just don't feel like I'm missing something here, and why is this so like an ink blot test? You know, I mean, in other words, if I follow the fundamentals, like I'll be in a trade. I used to trade grain market, and I'd be like, should I watch? I would watch the Financial News Network and stuff, and they'd have the grain guy come on. And I'm like, guys, well, I think there's going to be a drought. Well, I should buy soybeans. I mean, this is harebrained shit. This is like worse than a signal service, because what the problem was is that I had all this equipment hooked up, and I really only traded like about, I'd say 10 trades. And I studied the fuck out of the market, and I was like, you mean, and I would do these trades in wheat, and because I had paid exchange fees for the grain market. It was the cheapest thing to trade, Chicago Board Trade. And I also had, for another $30 a month, I could trade the financial bond market. So I could trade like options. I could trade options, and I could trade like minis, contracts. And I was like, you mean to tell me if I put a stop in soybeans, that trades in a quarter of a penny, and I'm like, okay, well, that costs X, so it's $25 per handle. I got to put in like a 250 pip stop on this one trade. I was like, wow. And then you come to Forex, and you're like, I can open an account for $250, and if I just sit there and focus my brain, I can scalp it or swing it up to, in 1 week, I can take it to $1,000 for $250. Oh my God, let's do that. Like, that's taking one trade, and so that's the whole power here. And I don't know how old this guy is that wrote this thing, but you know, I hate to sound like the guy that says, oh, you know, I used to walk barefoot in the snow to school, but dude, you're sitting here clicking your pajamas and these scripts, buy at the market, sell at the market, do this, do that, close all winning positions. So I typically get to it when the market gets to the seller's window. If I've built a position in swings, I just cash out, go flat, come back and win limits. Because to me, it's just going to keep going up and down. Rarely does the market do these fantastical targets people come up with. You usually only get like a structured target from the last move, you know, and for the market to really take off, it's going to take 80% of bullshit to get a 20% mind-blowing move, right? So And of course, if you're in that trade in the same size of your other trades, it's going to be a lot of money. But now, if you trade lighter in the swing trade, it's going to be the same amount of money, and it's less stress, right? To be in a 10K on a giant move than it is to be in 300K in a giant move, unless you're so up in the trade you go, we're never coming back to that price. But you can't say that over the next 2 months because it could come back to that price. And you'd be like, holy shit. I talked to some guy that traded Bitcoin up to 20 grand. He didn't get out, and it was back down lower, and he probably bought more. Because if you bought more when it went to 4,000 during Corona, you're like, holy shit, let's buy here. I mean, I don't think a lot of people stepped in and bought the stocks when I was saying it's probably the best buying opportunity. And that is just an obvious, like, no-brainer, like Boeing at $199 a share for Boeing. I'm like, yeah, they're going to stop making planes. Yeah, this Corona, yeah, that's it. Corona just wiped out the whole... I mean, people got to be kidding. It's like nobody's even dying anymore. And they just admitted 6% of the people are dying or dying from that pure thing. Oh, my God. You're obviously just so fucking fragile. You know what? Sorry, you're dead. Bye. We got to thin the herd, man. We got to get the gene pool. You know, people's mouths are getting smaller because the food is getting softer. Isn't that weird? Like, people are mutating to be very small mouths. Just enough for a sippy cup of liquid refreshment. So I'm buying more of this euro and it pulls back here. Looking for another run. So all these things are about, what is the comfort level, and in all the studying people do. I think you do have to, study this stuff. But if you think you can avoid the feeling of being not only wrong, so when I trade demos and I'm wrong, I still cringe. I'm like, I fucking got that wrong, direction-wise. But then I thought, well, you know what? I mean, this is when the limit idea came into being is, well, why do I have to decide? Why can't I let the market decide for me? Let the market prove me right. Let the market come to me. Put in the limits. Let them come in. Okay, sure. So, and sincerely, if anybody, he says, and sincerely, if anybody have a strategy that works, consistent, don't need anything else, of course, right? I guess I'm always looking for a better mousetrap. I mean, to me, I'm like, can I do this better? And I think, yeah. I mean, always improving on, okay, you know what? I'm going to have to trade more scalps here. I can't go for an 80 pip target all the time. The mistake, he says, the mistake is follow or try anything like overtrade. Big mistake. Well, that's, I would say oversized, big mistake. Structure will always be the most important. Okay, now that's time frame dependent, and patterns time frame dependent. Repeat over and over again. That's true. They repeat over and over again. And how are you going to rinse and repeat that same trade? I'm not talking about butterflies and crap like that. Simple structure. With the right management, everyone can shoot lots at the market if they follow this structure. Right, there's nothing. I just kind of like, the secret is a person, look at the chart. The price can go anywhere. The secret is no structure and react to the full extension of simple patterns, and never in the beginning. By the way, I'm not a pro, but I think it is ridiculous to criticize someone without explain why price goes up or down. I don't know what he means by that, but why it goes up or down, I think somebody answered it down here. More buyers than sellers. Typically and this is the algorithmic price surge. There you go, more buyers and sellers. Yeah, so ICT, he's this showman guy, and he did, he did some wacky stuff, and I don't know why he's charging people, but like I said, he might just want to charge people. So, like I said, everyone have their way to trade or teach. For me, he teaches some good content. That's all. Yeah, I know I guess what he's saying is true, what ICT is saying, but the problem is he's making it sound like, well, like you usually get the high of the week on a Wednesday. Yeah, okay, you could say that, but dude, when the market's ripping, it just keeps ripping. I mean, you got to have a little bit more. So some concepts of him help me improve my perspective in short-term trading. I do not take seriously about this matter. I listen and go check if I can improve my trade. I'm learning a lot with a few here, a few there, not because they say it work, because I study, test if it works. I replay because it's too much trying to get a person like Scam or whatever. Don't think he is. Yeah, I don't think he's a scam, but I think, like say it's silly, but he just makes it like this. It's like, I mean, the whole idea of inner circle trading, like, unless you're like with us, over in Russia with $1.5 billion, so he says, at least no more than anyone else that looks to sell mentorship. Yeah, so it's a mentorship thing. It was not ICT that teach me markets are algorithmic. Is a belief of what I have been seeing day to day. So I don't know what this algorithmic is. The markets move up and down. And they say the market's doing price discovery. This is what the books say. So, yeah, and we want to make sense of the move because people will say, well, why did the market go up? And I laugh every time because Bill Williams said this a long time, and I thought about it, and I go, yeah, he's right. In other words, the market moves, and people go, well, it's because Trump said that he wasn't going to paint his hair orange anymore. Crashed the market. Can't you see that? And so the market starts selling off. And when I said the Apple, I go, look at this. This is ridiculous. Look at NASDAQ. Are you kidding me? Then it started to tank. And then, on the next leg down, it's because, dude, the market, that you missed that. It has nothing to do with it. You're attaching these two things. It's just retarded. It's like, well, these masks we're wearing are saving lives. No, they're not. You know how I know that? Because I'm not fucking sneezing on you, bitch. And when I'm sick, I typically don't go out anyways. I'm laying in bed. Are you fucking kidding me? Who bought this shit? Oh, just wear a mask. And then a mandate? And then you're going to drag a little girl to fucking prison? She's going to get out because you can't have all these prisoners with masks. If masks work, then why aren't the prisoners wearing them? You're full of shit. And then you're going to censor shit like you can't say mask on YouTube. What the fuck? Fuck you. I'm old enough now. I'm ready to just go, you know what? Fuck you. Come and get me, bitch. I got my Uzi. Full auto. That's right. There, I said it. So, yeah, it's all in good fun. Anyways, I wanted to get to the other one that somebody wrote. I got to go back there. Dave Gibson always writes these philosophical things. And that's what it really comes down to. Like, so if you feel like the market's manipulated and stuff like that, and you're like, oh man, it's just like not fair, and like get in, and all my indicators lined up, and the market's going against me, and holy shit, I got to find a new system. Then you go system hopping, right? That's what people, this is the whipsaw, and people are like, oh man, I was working great till then, and then look at this is the 30-minute euro versus the pound. For God's sakes, man, this is a limit trader's market. I might even made money here. Look at this plunge, and then, I don't know. Now, if this ticket lasted all week long, that made money, but I don't think it did because most of my exposure is only 8 hours. So here the rinse and repeat. Yeah, obviously, and it's happening here all day long on the 4-hour here. So, I mean, to me, I can see what I would do here. Here's Sunday night, right? So here's Friday. you end up climaxing here. People can't believe it. I probably would have been short on that and scalped it here. So, and I would have gone long here just for that. And I probably would have got out there going, you know what? We are so, we're in no man's land above this thing, however far back to the left I could go. And look at the scream. Bam, bam. 2 sells at the market. And if I sell every rally, I sell here. So I already know my trade plan. It's without stop entry, I only have 2 trade plans, limits and markets. So the markets are triggered because I'm completely contrarian. I'm not going to go with, even though I know it makes money, I'm not going to buy here, right? Because I'm a retracement contrarian. So I'm going to sell here at the market, sell here at the market, sell every rally, sell, and sell. And I'm not going to, and then I sell here. Also, I know that I could lay sell limits up here, and if I don't put a wide enough stop, this is about 100, so this is 100 pips. Right there's 100 pips, you know, so, oof, you know, if those tickets only last for 4 hours, and I come out in front now, when it really gets smoking up here, the 4 hours start to get filled on limits. Now, big limit grids up here. And when I sell at the market, I mean, I might sell a 5K. I'm just not into it. I know I have to because I'm like, man, that's a good price. Like, and this does a whole circuit all the way back to here. And this is the full circle trade that if you bought here and you didn't take profits, you're like, God damn, and I'm just going to say that it is psychological because, trust me, if you bought here and you didn't get out here and it walked all the way back to here and you said, well, they didn't hit my stop, I'm staying the trade, and then it walked up to here, you probably get out and, you know, you can still say, hey, I made money. Now, there's no way, I guarantee you, in the rest of there's no way you could back test it and say, well, I know what would happen here because of this, and I don't even know what people are talking about. They built an algorithm on this. Anybody that thinks they're going to build an algorithm on the 4-hour chart, I mean, what is it going to cherry pick? Like, well, it took a trade here, took a trade here, took a trade here. Oh, really? I mean, it should be taking every pullback here. It should be like, oh, it's long, and maybe it gets out, and maybe here it gets chopped up, but then, you know, it should start sell every rally here at least, right? It should go long here. It should go short here. I mean, otherwise you could out-trade any robot. And you can't out-trade any robot. Come on, man. What the fuck? Like here, you're already out, right? You bought here. Like I already see the trade on the 4-hour chart. Buy limits here. I scalped it here. Maybe we make a little bit more, right? What's the next trade? Buy limits here. Yes. Just scatter them down there, man. And you may not get filled. I did that once 8 years ago. 7 years ago, I put limits up here, and they lasted all day. I put buy limits that never filled a whole week. I said, I'm going to try it 1 week. I'm a really disciplined trader. For 1 week, I am not going to, no fill. Oh, my God. I kind of undertraded the market. But, you know, I was kind of happy because I was like, you know what? I didn't feel any risk. Because when they fill your first ticket, and you look down, I'm looking at my phone now. Oh, look, I got filled on something. Sweet. Let's see what happens. That's the kind of excitement of life, is getting filled on limits. But because when I pull the trigger at the market, I know exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to get that shitty price. So also with the limits, there's another psychological trick. I got the limits in right. Now I can sit back with my finger on the trigger and go, all right, I'll give you 4 hours to get in that window. If you can't bring the price down, this is the daily chart. If you can't bring the price down to here, so I've got my finger on the trigger. Imagine this is an hourly chart. I got buy limits in here, and I'm like, okay. But at the end of this, I do buy at the market. And because I'm like, you know what? That would be the confirmation, right? Confirmation kind of trade. Like, I see the pattern. I'm waiting for this particular pattern where we're a third of the candle of the 8th candle, 5 candles back. And that kind of stuff makes me crazy. That's the most conceptual, undynamic way to live. That's like learning what every chair looks like. And somebody asks you to sit in a chair and you haven't seen that chair yet. You don't know what you're looking at. You can't define a chair in crude terms of like four legs. You don't have like a abstraction. So if you can abstract the idea of an auction, you can see it wherever you go, everywhere you go on the 4-hour chart, even on this daily chart actually, because this New Zealand is such kind of like a, you can trade for very little money here. This is only 65 cents for this currency. So your broker, typically a broker is going to only charge you, like you could trade 2 contracts here for what it costs you to trade the euro, practically. But the spread's kind of wide, so it's a great swing trader's market, and you can trade this New Zealand dollar and really not get hurt. I mean, you could trade twice as many tickets, like right here in this area here. You could have just loaded up there and made your 100 pips. You know, by here, if you just want to make 100 pips and you bought almost, well, you actually bought just below the 100-yard line here, and you held that for a few days to here, and you made 100 pips, you're out. So I don't know. Anyways, that's my 2 cents, so to speak. So I'm going to put a link to all my indicator scripts, and there's not a lot of profiles in there, and there's not a lot of templates either. With the templates, you need all the indicators that are looking to be called up by the templates. So that's. But I've done. There might be a cloud one in there. It looks really pretty. You know, the problem with the cloud, the pretty stuff, is it's just not practical, in my opinion. I kind of just want a machine that runs and does a kind of a utilitarian, a military event, you know, like a tank. I really want to get too blinged out. I guess other than the background color is the only thing I kind of like play around with, but it's just kind of like I'd rather play guitar than design algorithms, because I kind of have a feel. Let me just run through the charts here. So this is the Bitcoin on the dailies. And look at this double dip into the blue window there, right? So you could have bought this, and I can see the obvious deep discount old lows here to buy. I'd be out of that coin. I'd be out of that trade already. Not that I would sell here and go the other way, because I said for me it's going to have to be a range of sells. So if I was to sell this rally, I'd put sell limits above here, sell limits above here, and as it goes up, they're ratcheting into my trade, and when it comes below here, I'm going to cash out, because I know there's buyers in here, and they buy this whole thing, and then they dump to here, right? So that's the floor that they dump to. Bitcoin's a pure market because it's open 24 hours, and it's just so, on the 4-hour chart, or even the daily, there's no gaps here. We actually have Saturday on here, which is probably a quiet day. But here's another example of a triangle with the voids forming above and below. We're either going to crush into this void, or we're going to break on in this void. People were probably saying we're going to go this way. But all the teetering before we get there, fake breakout here, bing, 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 bing. Look how quiet, and then, whoa. I mean, geez, man. I mean, it's gorgeous, but like I said, how many times in your life are you going to see the same pip range, the same pattern, a 2-month triangle, and here is the 80-20. 80% accumulation, 20% markup, distribution, 80% marked down. Now the auctions become different. Here's the accumulation under this floor, then up, slight engulf, back to fair value, back to the middle of fair value, which is another floor. So there's auctions within auctions. There's supplies and breaker bars within. It's all wrapped around itself, because you can never make claims like, well, Wednesday's the day you get in, because look at this psychodrama. Then it finally calms down, but all the trading in here, daily chart, don't forget, you got a buy limit here. You scalp out. You know, you could ride this thing. You could say, well, I'm long Bitcoin. I bought back here, and I'm just going to sit. I'm not that guy, but I'm just going to wait till it gets up here. Yeah, you're an investor. You're not a trader. I mean, to me, if you're holding something for that many days, anyways, that's the way I see it. But there's no. I mean, like I said, I'm not charging, and you don't have to watch. But I wouldn't want to even think I could fit somebody's imagination or somebody's. I don't know what he charges, $100 a month. I don't know what he charges for his mentorship, but I would feel disingenuous or like ripping people off. Like, oh my God. I mean, it would just feel weird. It's like, I know how to trade. If I need money, I'll just trade. I mean, I'll just trade it. That's the work part. And I don't feel like I'm going to hurt anybody's feelings because it's just the market doesn't know I exist. So I can trade it and I can trade it, without worrying about, is it a good fit? In other words, if somebody's paying for mentorship, you think, wow, God, I mean, am I doing too much? Am I not doing enough? Is it too cheap? Is it too expensive? Is this the going rate? And then I think, oh, I got to be a people pleaser, and I got to sit there and make the first person feel comfortable. And I don't know. I'm not used to doing it. So I think I'd rather be a shrink and listen to people say, oh yeah, I beat my wife. Well, tell me what else you do. I don't know. I guess the trading thing, being a loner, trading is just perfect fit. Being in lockdown already, I mean, it's just perfect fit because you just sit here and you look at the chart and go, oh God, just come up with ideas on how to take advantage of the price movements. And some of these things are so quick. I mean, it's like 1 hour, boom, that trade's gone. And the problem there is that if you happen to be in a trade where you are holding it for 2 months and that move comes along and the news comes along, I mean, are people pulling out of positions before the news and going back in? I mean, I guess, if you're in you got 1,000 pip stop and you've been in the trade for 2 years, I don't think you care if the news comes out. You're like, dude, I don't even notice, So that's the big thing. And people are trying to avoid this losing by coming with more and more precise ways to get in the market, better entries and exits. And that's why I make fun of the no-nonsense guy. I've got an exit. When he said he had an exit indicator, I thought, well, isn't that an entrance indicator? I mean, if it's good enough to exit on, it's good enough to enter on. I'm usually thinking, holy God, we just went up 4 hours straight. Get the fuck out. The market's closed. I don't think we're going to follow through on this. Maybe come into Asia, we'll come back with the limits. But that's just me. I want to get out. I don't want to hold. I don't, but if you're a stock trader and you hold a trade for, 10 years, you're in maybe you bought Berkshire Hathaway when it was I don't know, cheap. The thing about the $120,000 a share. Are you kidding me? 2 shares is like a home. Yeah, maybe it's a big dividend. But yeah, gold's going to be something else. But yeah, it's to me the gold thing is I'd still be scalping this. I wouldn't be holding any of that gold stuff. But what else is on here? This is the only trade I got going on this right in this account. So this is when I dropped the limits. I'm still in this stupid trade. I did this once in the Swiss franc years ago, and I thought I'll never do it again. I was in a trade like this, and I thought, you should just got out here and then just reloaded the bank of tickets. Why did you even bother? And look, my targets haven't been hit. Maybe some, not very many, and they haven't been stopped out either. I put a really wide stop and a really wide take profit, and that's the trade plan. And is that viable? I guess for entertainment purposes. But after watching the market, I think I'd just rather get in and out, in and out, in and out here, and just have limits in, and just put in 10 pip, whatever, and just have them down, strewn down there, and say, well, see how they fill me there. Let's see what happens. Kind of the only excitement really is the curiosity is are they going to fill me or not? Now, British pound, I would be buying this on limits. Right now, this is another big giant. This market is the heaviest moving market. Look at this thing. 50 pips on the big black lines there. Look at this thing screaming down off the top on the daily. Wow. And so here was the obvious trade was, and if you could afford it, you got every 50 pips, you're buying this thing on limits, and I'm buying. There's your sell at the market. So you you're just about to go into the vacuum floor here. You tip in the window, you sell scalp to the floor, and the sellers are coming in. And possibly we're going to go rushing down. So in 2 days, one day, you just come ripping down 200 pips and then ripping up. So if you could afford to buy that giant plunge when it came back to here, you were getting out, right? That was the whole mission accomplished back to here. Then today, buy these new lows. Holding here. Now you could hold for a rush to here, but I'm going to scalp out along the way. I'm going to take my 30, 40, maybe just, I'm thinking here is going to be, I'm going to go flat here. Because there'll probably be a pullback before we get to here. So knowing how the market's so choppy, 80%, well, just get out. And here's your claim for divergence down here. RSI, divergence at close. But it doesn't mean it's going to turn around and just go ripping up. And here was the divergence to the top, crash. But here's more of a sold at a higher price from way back here. You can make that claim for this move. But once again, it does not complete and keep going up in a beautiful, flawless move. And we wish it would, right? As seen on TV. People are hoping for, I saw in the textbook. I used to do that. Can I line up the textbook? Can I find that trade in the market? I go to the markets and I'm like, I don't see it. And these people describe these idealistic things. Some of it was drawn out by hand, like up, down, up, down. They weren't real markets. So all this jagged and all these wicks of insanity weren't there. And I thought, wow, this is treacherous. And of course, like I said, once you get in there and you're watching your equity fluctuate, you're like, I don't know if I like this trade so much. And maybe the British pound is going to go to the moon. And you could say, oh, look, it came all the way back to this top finally. Yeah, isn't that crazy? But look at this. Before it got there, man, look at this. Markets are wild. So I'm buying the euro and the pound tonight. And we're just going to ride it for more pips here than the euro. That's the plan.